Yeah, g'day guys, Steve here from Dirt Bike ADV. Sunday morning, just out for a cruise. Nothing too strenuous today. I'd call it a coffee cruise. Been working some very long hours, been working away, so 5 hours drive away, so you drive up there for 5 hours, you work 10-12 hour days and then you drive home again, so been working fairly hard, so certainly don't want to do anything too strenuous on the weekend. So just fluffed around yesterday and got a bit organised and mowed lawns and done all the domestic stuff like you do. Helped the wife in the garden a bit, but today I'm just out on the PR7 just going for a Sunday cruise. Heading down to the coast, going to have a coffee somewhere, check the surf, see if there's any banks going, and then we'll find a different route home. But the main reason, well, obviously the main reason is to clear my head. The second reason is for this ride is to have a chat about the bike handling. So I've recently done this short practical review, the SPR, and I deliberately didn't talk about itchy nose syndrome. I deliberately didn't talk about the handling and what the bike's like to live with and what it's like to ride and that sort of stuff. I wanted to do that in a separate video while I was riding along. So I'm going to have a chat about that. Basically, obviously this is a long-term keeper for me, so it's going to be a fairly glowing review. But I'll say this, there is some things that I would change with the bike. Knowing what I know now, you know, I've done 10-12,000 Ks on it now. Yeah, overall, what I think of the bike is very positive. It's a great bike and it suits my style. So we talked about all the specs in the first short practical review. Ground clearance, suspension, engine size, all that sort of stuff. Don't need to go into too much more technical detail about that. But what's the bike like to live with? What's the bike like to tour with? You know, can you take it off road? Yada 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 yada. G'day mate, how you going? Sunday up in these hills, there's bikes everywhere. Some great roads up here. So first and foremost, one of the things I did allude to is that this bike is a great adventure bike / touring bike. And I say that with a fairly open mind. This review is coming from an inexperienced rider. So I had a Tenere, an 86 model Tenere in about 88, rode that round for 2 or 3 years, did a trip up the east coast of Australia, but I got back home, started working again and sold it a couple of years later. Never ridden a bike in the bush before, and so the first time I actually owned a dirt bike was when I was 49. So started riding dirt bikes with my son when I was 49, and so yeah, my experience, and obviously I've been riding dirt bikes and adventure bikes since then, but my experience is quite limited. So this review is from a fairly inexperienced rider. I call myself an intermediate level rider only, yeah. So first and foremost, riding the bike, I think it handles like a treat. A little bit longer wheelbase, I talked about that in the short practical review, the first one. So it's very stable at speed, and certainly you don't need steering dampers or anything like that. So for anything that's open is awesome. Would I take it in tight technical trail? Not with a tower, no. You wouldn't do that anyway, and it's a bit heavy, and it's a little bit slow steering. You can do it. Flowing single trail, no problems at all, you know, but real technical single trail, no, you wouldn't do it, but you're not taking one of those bikes there anyway. So of the competitors, the DR650s, the 701s and the 690s, those sorts of bikes, this has got the longest wheelbase, and so it is a little bit slower steering, but it gives it that versatility. Itchy nose syndrome again. Gives it that versatility for adventure, but also touring, long rides, big rides. I put some big days in on this bike, and it's super comfortable. Yeah, it steers really well. Takes very little effort. I'm riding the bike with my fingers hanging off the steering, off the handlebars most of the time. I really don't grip it at all. You're not feeling like you have to, you know, control it or anything like that. It's a really stable bike. The seat is a super deep. It's the best adventure seat I've ever come across yet. I'm not a big fan of saddle seats. I like to move around on the seat a lot, particularly when you go up into the high country and you're going up steep hills and obviously in the sand when you're riding in sand. So I move around on the seat. I can't stand saddle seats. I'm sure saddle seats are more comfortable, but I personally don't like them. So yeah. So for a flat seat, it's the most comfortable seat I've ever sat on. It's got quite deep foam. The back third of the seat, or probably the back quarter of the seat, is quite hard, but that's you're only sitting back there when you're sort of riding around in loose sand and you have to push your weight back because the front wheel's bearing or something like that. So, but the middle part of the seat where you spend 90% of your time is a really comfortable seat and a really good quality seat cover and a really well made seat pan and everything like that. So yeah. Steering wise, as I alluded to before, it's slower steering, but very comfortable steering at speed. I don't have any problems. It doesn't seem to understeer. You can trail brake with it. My front brake is a little bit sticky. I've still got to fix that. Yeah, it steers very nicely. In general, the handling's very nice. The suspension is very soft. I did allude to that in the first review. You know, it's set up for this sort of riding and doing this sort of thing, and corrugations and gravel roads. It's really nice, you know. Can you ride it at race pace? No, definitely not. It's not like a 690 that's set up for race pace. Conversely, it doesn't wear you out. The 2018 690 had the stock suspension on it. I should have passed him then, shouldn't I? The 2018 with stock suspension really did wear you out. It was really harsh, you know, and I'd done all the settings on that and improved a lot, but it was still quite a harsh suspension setup. But as KTM alluded to, they're ready to race, so they're more of a race style bike, whereas this is more of a cruising touring style bike. So the suspension is considerably softer. One positive about it is it handles corrugations really nicely. You know, you're not getting beat up when you're riding corrugated roads. I rode up through Western Queensland, a lot of corrugated stuff up through there on the back roads, and you know, spent days on the gravel and the smaller tracks and that sort of stuff. And yeah, there was no issues there. It doesn't double you up, so to speak. So yeah. Geez, everyone's out and about today. Bit of sunshine. We're all guilty of it. We get through the Victorian winter and yeah, the sun starts coming out and we're all out and into it. So continuing on where I left off, just talking about the suspension. It is lovely and soft, as I say, and plush and all that sort of stuff, but of course there is a downside to that. There is fork dive. You have to be careful on your trail braking, you know, but if you grab a handful of front brake like that, there is a bit of fork dive. It's sort of like what's the word? A play off. What do you say? It's a consequence of having such nice, lovely, comfortable suspension. You can't have your cake and eat it, so to speak. Now, on the suspension, I have done nothing to the suspension. I haven't checked the clickers. I haven't done anything. I haven't checked the oil levels. Eventually, I will get it. I'll take it to my mate at over at Merbury North, young Brad, and he'll have a look at it for me. We'll just probably, I might spring it a little bit firmer. I'm not sure yet, but as I say, guys, I just ride the damn thing, and it seems to handle just fine to me. So yeah, not worried at all. Bit of trail braking like that, you know, you can see I sort of get a little bit of fork drive, so you do have to be careful. And my front brake is a bit twitchy. I haven't fixed that yet. Just a little bit sticky in the actual lever. So yeah. One of the beauties of this bike, I've got to say, is the low centre of gravity. The tank's down below, under your butt, basically. It's not behind your butt like a 690 or 701. It's actually under your butt. It's right in front of the engine. So you notice it straight away when you sort of start to flick the bike around. You know, there's just into sort of tightish corners and that sort of stuff. There's no effort in getting the bike back upright. It's the absolute polar opposite of the Tenere, the 86 model Tenere I had, and then the XT660Z. I'm trying to think what year that was, 2012 I think. Polar opposite, 23 litres juice up here underneath your chin, and even the latest model T7s, they've still got the juice up here. I've noticed with the world roads they've dropped the juice down, dropped the petrol tanks down much lower, so they've learnt their lesson from the likes of KTM and Husqvarna, who have their petrol tanks really low. So yeah, much lower centre of gravity, handles really well, and you really notice that just moving it in the shed. It's ridiculous, or pulling up at a bakery, in front of a bakery, and just sort of having to sort of lean it off the stand on the side of a bit of a camber on the road. You really do notice the weight then. It's really quite noticeable, so that's one of the positives of the bike. Wind protection is good, but it could be better, I'll say that. I sort of noticed recently on my Queensland trip where I got some really still days there, and like I'm riding along at the moment, I'm not really experiencing any wind. There's no buffeting on my helmet. I'm only doing sort of 97 k's, but if you've got a really still day and you're out in that flat country like I was out in Queensland, I was able to experiment and just sort of tilt my head up and down and sort of stand up a little bit and see what what effect the wind was having on me behind the screen. And there is a little bit of buffeting. You certainly wouldn't want to be any taller than me. I'm 6 foot tall. Yeah, I've got to remember where to go here. I think this is the right road. So yeah, if you were tall, you might put an extra wind deflector on top. But for me, it's fine. I'm not sure if I was supposed to turn left there, to be honest. Yeah, no pink lines for me. We'll find our way. Yeah. So lovely low centre of gravity, enough wind protection for me. The other thing I'd say is, because it's so good at touring and you can sit on this bike for so long, a bit extra fuel range would be good. Now, I've always said for an adventure bike, 300 k's is enough. You get 350 k's comfortably out of this tank if you carry a couple of 1.5 litre Primus bottles. So another 3 litres, you can get 400 k's. I've got 400 k's out of it. So, and you can do that quite easily. I reckon I've got bloody near 400 k's out of the 7 litres that's in it. So I've never actually measured it accurately to see if there's more than 17 litres, but certainly I've got very close to 400 k's. But for touring, I think you need more range. So this is the difference between an adventure bike and a touring bike. Touring bike, you're doing big k's, you're riding between Birdsville and bloody Tibooburra, or you're riding between bloody Urundangi or Cloncurry and Urundangi, and you know, you're out in the middle of nowhere and you're riding the Simpson, you need 500 k's. For this sort of bike, I reckon a bit of extra fuel range would be good, only because it's so good at touring that you can tour on it, you can sit on this bike all day. Whereas an adventure bike, say a KTM 500, do you want to sit on them all day? Nah, probably not. Even to a degree, something like the DR650 without a screen, you know, again, do you want to sit on them all day? No, maybe not. Certainly the one I rode was good enough. It had a beautiful big comfort seat and a bit of a screen, but you know, when you sit out in the wind all day, it does wear you down. So, but this bike is good enough to tour, so a little bit extra fuel range would be actually quite good. Absolutely cracking day out here. I'm enjoying this. My head is clearing by the minute. Anyway, continuing along. So to talk about the bike's features, has it got enough, I guess modern conveniences to say, oh, you know, you can tour this, you can do this or anything. So it's got the standard little Husqvarna speedo that the TE, I think they're the 650s or TR and the 610s came out with, and that's got a tachometer, it's got a fuel gauge, it's got a fuel light, it's got an engine light, it's got a indicator light, neutral light. So a really good little tacho, and I love simple tachos, I really do. I actually still like the old needle tachos. I reckon they're bloody brilliant. That was on the 690, the 2018 690. It's quite a good little tacho. So yeah, the tachometer lines up with the one. You know, you don't even have to read it if you're in 6th gear and the tacho's lining up with the 1 in 100, then you know you're doing 100k. So yeah, I just glance down and see where the tacho's at. Oh, look at this, look out, eh? Western Port Bay over there, Phillip Island over there. There's Reggie and Marge out for a Sunday drive. Yeah, so a good little tacho. I like it. I reckon that's all you need. And then it comes with the tablet. It's a standard ISU 7-inch tablet. Obviously it's an Android operating system. Thorpe Racing have got a DMD, what they call a data management something. So you can integrate a full dashboard. They can show you the directions, times. It incorporates GPS, all sorts of stuff. It really is exactly the same as what you get with a BMW or a KDM 890, all those sorts of things. So you can buy a screen that replaces this one, or you can buy the software. But also too, the OB, what is it? The OBM or OB systems, onboard management, onboard data, OBDs or something. You can get a dongle for these as well, and Thorpe Racing made that, so all your engine information, all your diagnostic information can be on your tablet as well. So if you like your high-tech stuff, and I don't, but if you do, that's all achievable with this tablet. It's only for the 21 models on. This is only a 17 model, so it's the later models that it works for. But that's something to, if you're thinking about buying a new bike, then you can certainly incorporate all that into the tablet, and then you got all the bells and whistles you could possibly ask for. So yeah. So you got your tablet, you got your what's the name, your tacho and speedo, all that works well for me. All I do is have a mapping system on here. That's all I do. I'm not a pink line guy. Sometimes I get lost. I just have to stop, look at the map and go, oh yeah, I know where I am. Turn right up here and I'm back on track. So that's fine by me. The lighting is sort of only okay. Well, no, it's not okay. The lighting is crap. It's just the way they've integrated it is brilliant. They've got their dedicated light mounts that are really well made and really quite sound and structural. I think I can go around this guy. And so it's well made, but the lights themselves are atrocious. There's no ifs or buts about it. So yeah, that's why I sort of hesitate and go, you know what, the light structure is good, the lights themselves are atrocious. So I've gone and bought what are ET Racing's LED light. That's got it to an acceptable level, but out of the box you do need to do something about the lighting. Some people mount little LEDs up on here, which works, but I felt like I was going to snap them off. So I just decided to buy the integrated ET Racing light. So the ergonomics of the bike I find perfect. It's a very comfortable, I've already talked about the seat, it's a ripping seat. These are a set of Pro Taper SX race bars. So the bars that are on it had a little bit of a kink in them. He dropped it on the left hand side at one stage and bent the bar just a little bit, and I just couldn't stand that. I had to go buy. Now, I was in a bit of a rush, I was going away, I just bought the bike and Brendan and I were going away. I needed to get a set of handlebars, so I just went down the local motorbike shop and bought these SX race bars, and they are absolutely mint. They're just the right bend for me. I was lucky. I just went, oh well, yeah, they're working for me. So seating position with these handlebars, it's just beautiful uprights. I'm going to call it a BMW seating position. It's very upright. You're not sitting leaned over at all. I don't find there's enough vibration, so it is a single. You can expect vibration. I reckon there's probably slightly less than the 2018 690 to give you a bit of an indicator. That's a bigger single though, so you'd expect a little bit more vibration, but certainly with the 2019s on, they've put the extra counterbalancer in, they've smoothed the engines out, so I assume this will probably be the same as the 690, so yeah. But yeah, certainly nothing for me that worries me, but vibration doesn't worry me in general. I don't grip the bars very tight, and I think if you are having problems with vibration and arm pump, you've probably got to learn to grip the bars a little bit less tight, so to speak. My fingers quite often hang. I'll often have my forefinger just resting on the brake and the clutch, and my other fingers are just hanging on the bars. Very soft grips too. I always go for very soft, spongy grips, so you can just sort of basically, I can just rest my hand there, and it doesn't sort of, I don't have to grip the bars at all. I can just sort of rest my hand like that. So seating position, handlebar setup. I don't know about the stock bars. They certainly didn't look too different to these, but this is a perfect setup for me. I can ride this all day and I don't end up with sore shoulders or sore hips or anything like that. Sometimes you get the bikes where they kick you forward a little bit, the seats are a little bit angled. Even the 690s, they got a little bit of a high arse in them, and they do tend to push you forward and you get a bit hunched, whereas this is that BMW upright position. So yeah. What else do I need to talk about? I don't think there's too much else. The mirrors that come on them are pretty good. These are better, of course, the old double takes. We all love the double takes, so there's no ifs or buts about them. I have put crush bars on them. The crush bars aren't for crash bars. What I want to basically do, I'm setting myself up to do some bigger, longer trips, and in particular, we're talking about the Canning stock route, or I've certainly been thinking about it ever since I bought this bike. I thought, oh, this bike would do that sort of trip. With the ADV Works bladders, they have a handle each end. I can hang an 8 litre bladder across here and just tie it onto the crash bars and get some of the weight forward, so I'm not packing everything over the back wheel. So I can get 8 litres of fuel up here, get another 5 litres in the back, and the 17 litres, I've got 30 litres of juice on board. So yeah, I'm getting close to having enough to cross the Canning. Probably not quite, but certainly getting up there. So that was the main reason for the crush bars, but also too, I bought some Endurostan fender bags that'll go both sides of theirs. One will be a tyre change kit and the other one will be a tool kit. They're going to mount permanently up on the crash bars. I haven't set those up yet, but that'll come. So yeah, that's just about getting some of the weight forward and everything off the back wheel, so it handles a little bit better. So yeah, I want to do a trip where I cut through from sort of Cooper Pedy through Docker River, across I think it's the Amberdell Highway, I think it's called, to Balluna, and then up the Canning stock route, and then back via the Tanami Desert, back through Alice Springs, and probably do the Simpson on the way home or something like that. But you need upwards of about 800 to 1,000 k's of range, depending how you do it with the Canning stock route. If you get the Capricorn Roadhouse to come out and drop some fuel for you, then I think it's slightly less. I think you can get away with a bit less, but I think it's certainly minimum 800,000, even with I've got to remember this now, even with the Capricorn Roadhouse dropping some fuel out for you. So yeah. But anyway, that's this bike I can do it on. I feel like it's light enough I can go by myself if I have to. I can pick it up by myself, so yeah, that's what I'm setting up. So mainly the crash bars for that. Let's face it, we all got egos. They look pretty chunky and pretty rugged too. I don't mind the look of them, so yeah, that's just a little bonus. So yeah. So what else do we need to talk about with the PR7? Let me see. guess one of the big things, or the elephant in the room, would be the parts. How do you get parts for an AJP PR7? Well, there's an importer in Australia. Previous importer, granted, wasn't very good. Wasn't real interested in the brand. I'm not sure what his main business was, but it was certainly a little side shoot. But we've got a good importer now. They've got a proper website. It's a bit of an old-fashioned website. You have to look up the part numbers and then type the part number into the search bar and then add it to your cart. So it's a little bit antiquated, but they do reply to your email inquiries. I've emailed both the factory in Portugal and the local distributor here in Australia, and they've both been responsive. If you're looking for particular parts, Kathy will quote them for you. I'm looking to upgrade the old incandescent indicators to LEDs, so the latest model PR7's come with LED indicators, so I thought I'll just buy a set of those. And so I thought about maybe putting the 2023 sticker kit on as well too, but decided against that in the end. I'm getting a custom sticker kit made. But she quoted all that for me, and you can just go into the quote and just accept and pay, and it's really simple via PayPal and all that sort of stuff. So, and then they just order it, they'll order it automatically. So very sort of streamlined. But wheel bearings, they list the sizes of the wheel bearings in their parts diagram. So if you just want to go to your local bearing supplies and buy your wheel bearings there, or your swing arm bearings, they're all listed in the parts manual, so you can just buy your own. You don't have to go to the AJP website. There are lots of tourist traffic out. So what else do you need to know about an AJP PR7? So the engine package, as I discussed, is a single cylinder 600cc twin overhead cam, so reasonably modern engine, fuel injected. You could argue that the standard mapping is a little bit snatchy. It was the same as the Tenere 660Z in traffic. It's a little bit of an off and on thing. Chris from ADV Engineering has worked with a few other AJP enthusiasts, and they've developed their own ECU here in Australia, and I believe there's some more overseas as well too. I think Thorpe Racing have developed their own, and of course the later model bikes, the 2021s, and have got a revised ECU anyway. So these older models, there's argument that they are a little bit snatchy, but it's not enough to worry me. And certainly Chris from ADV Engineering, as I said, he's developed quite a nice ECU if you find it's annoying you. But it's got enough power. Has it got as much power as a 690? No, it's got 90cc's more, and probably a high spec bike, so it's developing more power. They're getting a lot of power out of those 690s, but there's plenty of power to pass cars at 100k's, no problems. There's still plenty of acceleration left at 100k's. All that depends on your final gearing, of course, but yeah, I find there's plenty of power, and most of the time you're just cruising along like this anyway, stuck behind friggin' traffic, so who needs all that power? But that's of course totally up to you. If you like the if you love the powerful bikes and the latest technology, not the bike for you, as I keep saying. So yeah, the controls overall are pretty good. As I said before, the mirrors are good. The bark busters that come with the bike are Chirby's, and they're backbone bark busters, so they've got an aluminium backbone, so they're good. For a stock set of bark busters, they're really good, so yeah, foot brake and gear lever, all fine. I don't have an issue with those. Adjustable brake lever, you can adjust that forward and back, but you can't adjust the gear lever. But again, I don't have an issue with that. I find it's fine. You could argue that the brakes are a little bit weak on these earlier models. I think they're a Nissan brake, I can't remember now, but yeah, you could argue that. And I know the rear brake is a bit of a bugger to bleed, but yeah, you could argue the brakes are a bit weak, but certainly again in the later models they've put Brembo brakes on them, so there won't be any issues there. So yeah, but yeah, overall a pretty good package. one thing to remember, of course, is they're an underslung exhaust. So like the Tenere 700s, you have to have your luggage that's soft rack is easier. You can get panniers, of course, but pannier racks, but the soft luggage is easier, and if it rakes forward and ties off behind your foot peg, it's probably better. It's better ideal. It's more ideal. They have got a super strong subframe, and so you can get a fair bit on the back. There's no problems there, but yeah, you are better with a Tusk style or a Moscow Moto style rackless system. I've certainly tried the Tusk, tried the Reckless 40 or Reckless 40, whatever they call it, Reckless 40 from Moscow Moto. Didn't like that, got rid of it again and settled down with the Tusk in just a duffel bag, an ADV Works duffel bag. So that seems to be quite a comfortable little setup. I do prefer duffel bags as opposed to beaver tails, as the Moscow Moto guys call them, but yeah, I certainly am pretty happy with the Tusk setup. I just bought some bottle holsters for the Tusk setup, and so yeah, that'll all just hang above the exhaust. It won't be sort of hitting the exhaust or anything like that. Used to be a good look out here. We'll have a look, see if it's still there. Yep, we'll poke our nose in here. Little right-hander brakes in there. Particularly good when there's sou'westers are blowing. If you've got a bit of swell, there can be a lovely right-hander brake in there. But not today, not much swell. Probably only about a metre of swell, and it's mostly wind swell, so it's not big rolling ground swells coming up from up down south. So yeah, but a beautiful day nonetheless. But anyway, guys, there you go. Other than that, talking about controls, beautiful big beautiful big foot pegs, anodised foot pegs, anodised hubs. You know, they are set up very well from the factory, you know, and good quality rims and nice strong spokes. And so yeah, a well built bike, and for the blokes who are happy with a simpler bike, they're the bike for you. So but anyway, guys, I think I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm going to beeline home from here. Had a coffee at 1:30 very quickly, and so yeah, we'll just beeline it. Might drop in and see me mate Brendan, and we'll call that a day. Yeah, good way to spend the day, isn't it? Thanks for watching, guys. We'll hope to see you out in the trails soon.